Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to Get Hit with the Truth. So today, we're continuing my 2022 Boxing Awards, as this award is on the title defense of the year. Seems pretty self-explanatory, but it's not, you know, and I'll get into why. But before I do, I'd like everybody to smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. Excuse me, before I get rolling. I usually wait till the end of the videos. I'd really appreciate your support if you guys enjoy the video, guys. I really put my heart and soul into this stuff, and I really enjoy it. So anyways, back to the title defense of the year. So obviously, to most people, this is a champion going in and keeping his belt. And I agree to an extent, but I take away unification bouts. Because, which unification bouts are two champions fighting each other. The thing is when you have something else to fight for, I think you're a challenger again. That's the way I see a unification bout or an undisputed title fight. When you're trying to add to what you have, you're challenging for that. Now, at the same time, you can challenge and technically defend the other belt, but I think a true title defense is when you're the champion and the other guy's a challenger. You're trying to hold on to what you have, the other guy's trying to take it. Plain and simple. That's how I view a title defense. Now, title win of the year, you know, that's where I throw the unification bouts in. So it's not like those get left out, but we'll get to that soon. But I just wanted to explain my definition for title defense of the year. So, you know, as I always do, we're going to do 122 all the way to heavyweight, the candidates. And then, you know, I'll throw in a couple of the candidates that were underneath, you know, 122 from the assorted weight classes, because I don't usually follow those. But I am going to do that. For instance, Rodriguez's defense against Sor Rungvisai. You know, I think that was at 115 when Rodriguez defeated, or 112, and I think it was 115, Rodriguez dominated Rungvisai. So that gets in there. That was a pretty good title defense. It was a fight that a lot of people thought could go either way, and Bam Rodriguez dominated Sor Rungvisai. You know, then you had Chocolatito defeating, Juan Francisco Estrada defeating Chocolatito in their third fight to retain the belt. That was a big deal. So, you know, that one gets in there. That was a huge fight. A lot of people looking forward to it. Their second fight in 2021 had ended by a close decision, a split decision, and everybody wanted to see part 3, and we got it, and it was great in 2022 at the end. Estrada made it a little bit more convincing, though, in the third fight. Now, at 122, the two candidates. First up is Stephen Fulton Jr.'s 12-round unanimous decision over Daniel Roman. Fulton was the reigning undefeated unified champ. He was coming off the win over Brandon Figueroa, and he decided to face off against former unified champ Daniel Roman, who was basically number 3 or 4 in the division, as Figueroa was set to move up to 126 pounds. So there was a lot riding on this. Fulton dominated Daniel Roman from start to finish, pretty much shutting him out, essentially. Some of the rounds were competitive, but Fulton just was too much for Roman, and got a clean one-sided unanimous decision, and then Roman retired. So that was a big win over a big opponent for Fulton. The other candidate is Murodjon Akhmadaliyev's 12th round knockout of veteran Ronnie Rios, as he competed in a mandatory title defense here of both his WBA and IBF belts. Rios, everybody thought would give, MJ a really good fight. MJ was the favorite, but MJ just absolutely dominated Rios. Even after breaking his hand, he pressed the action well ahead on the cards and got a 12th round knockout over the veteran, landing an assortment of body punches. So big win for MJ. 126. The first candidate is Lee Wood for his 12th round TKO over Michael Conlan to retain the WBA regular title. Going in, Conlan was the favorite to take the belt from Wood, and it was a very good competitive bout, fight of the year candidate, but Michael Conlan was convincingly winning heading into the championship rounds. He just had to hold on, but he could not do it. In the 11th round, he got put down, and then in the 12th round, he got knocked out brutally when he got put through the ropes on the knockout punch. And Leigh Wood retained his title behind on the cards, come from behind knockout win, big time victory as he kept his belt. The other candidate at 126 is Emmanuel Navarrete, 6th round knockout of Eduardo Baez. Navarrete, was taking on the veteran Baez, ended up being competitive, but Navarrete put his foot on the gas pedal towards the middle of the fight and landed a wicked left hook to the body, defeating Baez and retaining his belt. 130, there was no candidate because there was no successful title defenses at 130 pounds, super featherweight. So, interesting note there. 135, first candidate was Devin Haney's 12-round unanimous decision over George Kambosos Jr. to retain the undisputed lightweight championship of the world, as this was their rematch from June of 2022, where Haney became the undisputed champion and unified all 4 belts, dominating Kambosos to a 12-round decision in the rematch. He just put it on him even more, dominating Kambosos, beating him up, almost stopping him as he retained all 4 belts. The other candidate was Gervonta Davis's 6th round TKO over Orlando Romero to retain the WBA regular belt at lightweight. It was kind of, neither guy was willing to kind of pull the trigger. They were still kind of feeling each other out heading into the 6th round. It was competitive though, but then in the 6th, Davis landed a wicked left hand that hurt Romero badly, and that was all she wrote as Tank Davis retained his title. 140, only one candidate, and that was Josh Taylor's 12-round split decision over Jack Catterall. Not really a big one to speak about. It was just the only candidate we had. It was the only successful title defense. It was for the undisputed belt. Taylor came in a heavy favorite. He went in, and Catterall was the mandatory #1 contender from the WBO, was undefeated but widely untested, and he really put it on Taylor. Taylor was able to get back into the fight, but he also suffered a knockdown early on, and when it went to the scorecards, most people thought Catterall should have won, but Taylor would retain his undisputed title by a controversial split decision. 147, the only successful true title defense at welterweight was Terrence Crawford's 6th round knockout of David Avanesian. Nobody really wanted to see this fight, but everybody pretty much, I called even by the round. I said it would be over by the 6th round, and he brutally knocked out Avanesian to retain his WBO belt. 154, we didn't have a candidate. There wasn't a true title defense at 154 in 2022. 160, first candidate was Erislandy Lara's 8th round TKO of Spike O'Sullivan for the WBA regular belt. Most people felt Lara was going to win. O'Sullivan hadn't been a serious contender in a couple years, but Lara went out there and dominated O'Sullivan, picking him apart, stopping him in the 8th round to keep his belt. The other candidate was Kazakh-style Alaman Kanuli. His victory over Denzel Bentley in November on ESPN. He was defending the belt after being upgraded to champ because Demetrius Andrade refused to fight him, and he took on Bentley, struggled more than he should have, but walked away with a unanimous decision. 175. The first candidate was Dimitri Bivol's 12-round unanimous decision over Canelo Alvarez to retain the WBA light heavyweight title. Big time win here. Bivol came in the underdog. Canelo was the favorite, and first half of the fight was somewhat competitive, but in the second half, Bivol completely took over, dominated Canelo in round 2, a 12-round unanimous decision, and a big upset as he retained the light heavyweight title. The other candidate was Dimitri Bivol's 12-round unanimous decision over undefeated Gilberto Ramirez. Ramirez was the mandatory #1 contender. The WBA forced the fight to happen, and in November, a lot of people thought that Ramirez, because of his size, would be able to compete with Bivol, but Bivol dominated Gilberto Ramirez, picking him apart and scoring a convincing 12-round unanimous decision as he retained his WBA title again. 200 pounds, cruiserweight. First candidate was Lawrence Okole's 12-round unanimous decision over Mikhail Cieslak. A lot of people were looking forward to this because Cieslak was a very serious contender, and Okolie hadn't fought a very serious contender as of yet. But Okolie went in there, scored a knockdown early in the fight, and just kind of went on to like a convincing, wouldn't push it too hard, but walked away with a convincing unanimous decision as he retained his WBO belt. Also is Arsen Goulamirian's 12-round unanimous decision over Alexei Igorgov as he retained the WBA cruiserweight title. Goulamirian hadn't fought in close to 3 years heading into this one, and he was taking on Igorgov, a fight that should have happened the year prior, and it ended up being a pretty competitive bout, but Goulamirian looked good after a three-year layoff, picking apart Igorgov en route to a 12-round unanimous decision. Sorry, guys. Next up at heavyweight is Alexander Usyk's 12-round split decision over Anthony Joshua. Nobody knew what to expect in the rematch. There was a lot of people that thought Usyk would do it again. There's other people that thought Joshua would get his revenge. Usyk went out there and, he was just too good for Joshua. Joshua did well, but Usyk so good at feinting and making Joshua think about it that Joshua just couldn't put the full pressure on. He did better in the rematch. He fought harder, and when it went to the scorecards, it was even scored a split decision for Usyk. But I don't think it was that close, but it was closer than the first fight. But Usyk retained his unified belt with the victory. The other candidate was Tyson Fury's 6th-round knockout of Dillian Whyte to retain the WBC title. A lot of people felt Fury was a heavy favorite, but that Whyte had that puncher's chance. Fury just zapped Whyte from the get-go, dominated him, picking him apart, breaking him down, and then finally an uppercut led to the knockout as he retained his WBC belt. And now the top 10. I'm giving 10 here. So number 10 for this award, actually I'm going with 9. No, I'm going with 10. I'm sorry. Number 10 was Stephen Fulton's 12-round decision over Daniel Roman. He retired him. Fulton was number 1 in the division. Roman was number 3. This was a big win over a former unified champ as he retained his 122-pound belt. Number 9 goes to Lee Wood's 12th round TKO of Michael Conlan. This was huge. Just to be able to come from behind, and he was an underdog coming in, to be able to come from behind and score a 12th round dramatic knockout, brutal knockout, to retain his title was just big. He has went on to be upgraded to full champion now. So that victory was a monster win for Lee Wood. Number 8, Devin Haney's 12-round unanimous decision over George Kambosos to retain the undisputed title. He dominated him more impressively than he did the first time, but nobody was surprised that he won the rematch. It was a big fight because it was for the undisputed title, but I think most people felt, myself included, that the rematch wasn't gonna be that close again, and this time he absolutely dominated Kambosos even more. So pretty good win right there. Number 7 goes to Bam Rodriguez's 8th round TKO victory over Sor Rungvisai when they fought for the WBC 115-pound title. I mean, this was a huge win right here for Bam Rodriguez. He came in and took on the veteran Rungvisai and really put it on him. He broke down Rungvisai, dominated him, stopped him in the 8th round. That was a surprising, ending and fight the way it went, and it was just a big win for Bam Rodriguez. Number 6 goes to Juan Francisco Estrada's 12-round unanimous decision over Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. This was a big-time fight. It was their 3rd fight. There's, the first fight back in 2012, Roman Gonzalez took a convincing decision, I believe. The rematch took place 9 years later, and it ended by a split decision for Estrada. So the 3rd fight, most people were going in thinking Estrada was going to clear the path and win by a wider margin. He did, but it was still very close, a very hard fight for the title. But Estrada would walk away the winner and the top dog at 115 with that victory as he retained his belt. But potentially could set up a 4th fight, but that finishes number 6. Number 5, I gave it to Dimitri Bivol's 12-round unanimous decision over Gilberto Ramirez in November on DAZN. I mean, Bivol, as I said a few minutes ago, he absolutely dominated a bigger man in Ramirez, a guy that a lot of people thought because of his size might be able to make a dent on Bivol, but Bivol was coming off, and also because Bivol was coming off the win over Canelo, maybe he had that hangover from beating Canelo, and he was just so much even more on point against Ramirez than even for the Canelo fight. He dominated and scored a convincing unanimous decision to keep his belt at 175. Number 4 actually goes to Canelo for his 12-round unanimous decision over Triple G in their third fight, as he retained his undisputed super middleweight title. A lot of people are going to knock this one, but you can't deny the fact that this was a big fight for the undisputed title at 168. It really was. Canelo was the top dog. He was coming off the loss, and he's taking on Triple G, who is still the unified middleweight champion of the world. I don't care how old he was. He's still the top guy at middleweight. And they went in, and Canelo impressively shut down the first 8 rounds and, you know, kind of coasted the next 4, but had built up enough of a lead to cruise to victory and retained his 4 belts by unanimous decision. Number 3 on the year, I'm giving that to Tyson Fury's 6th-round TKO over Dillian Whyte. A lot of people are going to be like, why? Well, Dillian Whyte was a top 5 heavyweight. He was number 5. He's the interim champ. Really done well for himself in his career. Going in against Fury, and Fury just dominated him. I mean, Fury just has figured out how to just absolutely decapitate his opponents and dominate them. And he just picked apart Dillian Whyte, beat him up, and scored a brutal 6th-round knockout to keep his WBC belt intact. That's number 3. Number 2, I gave it to Alexander Usyk's 12-round split decision over Anthony Joshua in their rematch, as Usyk retained the unified heavyweight title. You know, the thing was, is nobody gave Usyk much of a chance in the first fight. I thought he was a live underdog, but I thought Joshua would win the first fight, and Usyk just shut him down. Second fight, I felt like it could go either way, but that Joshua would do enough to get to Usyk to hurt him. He did a little bit better, but it still wasn't enough, as Usyk just so good. His footwork is good, the way how elusive he is, and the way he makes you think, you know, about throwing a punch or not throwing a punch. And he won this fight deservedly and retained the unified title impressively. That was number 2 on the year. But the number 1 title defense of the year, this one's easy. This goes to Dimitri Bivol's 12-round unanimous decision over Canelo Alvarez. I mean, Canelo was the favorite. He was the pound-for-pound king. He came into this fight, you know, hoping to win another belt at 175, and Dimitri Bivol didn't just beat him, but he beat him convincingly. Absolutely outboxed him, especially in the second half of the fight. Just when Canelo would get close, he would throw punches first, even though he was on his back foot. Combinations. It was just a very, very well planned fight, as he dominated in the second half and really took it to Canelo to retain the light heavyweight belt. So that's it. That is my title defense of the year. Dimitri Bivol defeating Canelo Alvarez by unanimous decision to retain the WBA light heavyweight title. That's the 2022 title defense of the year. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.